Hey everyone, welcome back to Chiara's Little Travel Adventure. In part 1 of this video, we explore all the best destinations in Southeast Asia when it comes to safety, budget, breathtaking viewpoints, and culture. This time around, we're talking about tips, travel essentials, but also visa requirements and everything you need to know to make your trip in Southeast Asia as smooth and easy as possible. Ready for all the tips? Let's get started. Before we jump into the practical stuff, I would like to remind you that safety always comes first. Yes, Southeast Asia is a relatively safe country. However, remember to be conscious and careful of yourself and your own belongings. Things like petty theft and scams can still happen, especially in very touristic areas, so be mindful of yourself and your belongings. And if you're traveling solo, especially as a girl, I would suggest to be very mindful of yourself and follow your instincts and your guts. We talked widely about it in part 1 of this video, so if you want, you can check that out. But I also made an old video when it comes to solo traveling planning and the best tips for it. So if you want to have a more in-depth into this topic, you can watch the video over here. Now, the most exciting thing, budget. Now, Southeast Asia is a very budget-friendly country, so you'll find that it is very affordable, at least compared to the most countries I've traveled and stayed in. Whether you're looking into cheap accommodations, food, or experiences, you're truly in for a treat here. Street food is an absolute highlight here. And anywhere you are, it's super cheap, and it's strongly suggested not just for the budget, but also for the experience. Of course, as always, be conscious of what you eat, especially when it comes to things like raw food. But other than that, I suggest you try as much as you like. And for the best destinations and attractions in Southeast Asia, if you're thinking about the Angkor Wat or the beautiful Philippines, the beautiful beaches of Phuket, well, I've talked extensively in part 1, so you can head over there to have a more in-depth into this topic. And for festivals, Southeast Asia is full of them. You'll find vibrant celebration everywhere all throughout the years. Whether we're talking about the Songkran festival in Thailand or the beautiful Lunar Tet festival in Vietnam, I've got you covered, as always, in part 1 of this video. Now let's head into the travel essentials when it comes to traveling hassle-free Southeast Asia. These are all items and tips that can really make your trip so much smoother and easy. First up, SIM cards. SIM cards are really convenient, and for a very cheap price, you've got all your data for things like ride-sharing apps, food apps, or any kind of other app you might need. Apart from China, which is not technically in Southeast Asia, you won't really need things like VPNs, so you can easily connect with all your favorite apps and social media. I suggest as fast as you land on Southeast Asia, you grab your own SIM card at the airport. However, now eSIMs are also very convenient. If you can, I would definitely suggest it. Now, my phone does not support it, unfortunately. So if you're like me, understand the struggle, let me know in the comments down below if you're in it also with me. However, eSIM cards are also very convenient, but if you cannot get an eSIM card, just get a SIM card right from the airport. It's going to be way more convenient than having to do it later on. And straight away, you can use all your favorite apps, but also very useful apps for each country. I'm thinking Grab, which is a ride-sharing app, very much used in Thailand, and it is so convenient. And if you want to know more about how to travel in Thailand, I've made an old guide, you can watch it over here, about exploring Thailand. That is literally your ultimate guide for 2025. Also remember that in a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, you will find that you can already use apps to pay cashless. However, some countries do not allow it, so I suggest you exchange some money, some cash right from the airport. That is just way more convenient to do it straight ahead. Yes, maybe the fare is not always the cheapest. However, you might want to have some cash in hand right from the get-go. Now, travel insurance is a must. Yes, Southeast Asia is a pretty safe country. However, you never know. You might get sick, you might find yourself in some kind of emergency, but also think about losing your luggage, your belongings, or if your trip gets delayed or canceled. You truly want to consider that, and a travel insurance is truly a must. Believe me, it's one of those situations where you'd rather be safe rather than sorry. I've got a whole video if you want to check it out about choosing the best travel insurance for you over here. Now packing. Southeast Asia is hot and humid, so I strongly suggest you bring light, breathable clothing, easy to wash, easy to dry. Don't forget your sunscreen and bug repellent. Believe me, you're going to thank me so much once you're there for it. And of course, our raincoat is essential because it rains quite a lot and it's just so convenient to have around. And of course, your reusable water bottle to keep yourself hydrated at all times. Unfortunately, Southeast Asia is still a place where they love so much their plastic bottles, but we don't, right? And if you want to have a more in-depth about packing for a long-term trip or on the road, I've got a whole video over here about my best tips when it comes to travel long-term and how to properly pack stress-free. Health is another essential part of traveling. Make sure to check on the embassy website the required vaccinations for each of those countries. You might want to explore more than one while you're in Southeast Asia, and that's a great idea. However, I strongly suggest that you keep in mind that some vaccinations that are not required might be very strongly recommended, and I recommend it as well. When I was in Thailand, I got 9 different vaccinations in just one day. It was pretty strong, but I traveled way more worry-free. And as always, don't forget your first aid kit, band-aids, and also some medicines from your own country. Yes, of course, you can find pharmacies and drugstores in those places. However, we just feel more comfortable when we can get medicines from our own country. And finally, don't forget your electronics. A power bank is a must. Whether it's because you can't find maybe a plug for a long time or you're just using your phone a lot, whether it comes to communication apps or maps, I strongly suggest, of course, Google Maps in any of those countries, or whether you just need it for buying tickets or for buying food, you will use your phone a lot. So a power bank is definitely your best friend. And don't forget an exchangeable plug. Now let's talk about visas and entry requirements. Understanding these before you travel can make your trip there so much more easy, especially when you're considering of hitting more than one country within your trip. It's very important to know what are the requirements and what are the necessary visas, if there are any, between one country to the other. So here's a quick rundown of what you might want to expect when traveling Southeast Asia. Some countries in Southeast Asia, like Thailand and Malaysia, offer a visa-free entry or a visa on arrival option for most nationalities. Of course, that depends all on the agreements between your own country and the countries you want to visit, so you might always want to check on the embassy website for your own requirements. Just remember that your passport always needs to be valid for at least 6 months when you're traveling. Other countries like Vietnam and Laos require a visa in advance before you visit. However, Vietnam, for example, allows you to ask for an e-visa before you leave your country, and that is way more convenient. Be sure to check the specific requirements from your own nationality before you leave. You don't really want to find yourself in a pinch over there. Even though COVID restrictions have eased a lot in most countries, some countries might require you to do a quarantine or to get a COVID test before visiting. So make sure you're prepared for that and you have exactly what is needed before you find yourself not being able to visit the country you want to visit just because you haven't tested yourself for COVID. And lastly, when it comes to cross-boarding, remember that there might be some requirements between entry and exit amongst all the countries in Southeast Asia. So you really want to check that before you plan your own itinerary so that you know exactly what to do and you can make your trip so much smoother. That's your ultimate guide to Southeast Asia when it comes to travel essential tips and visa requirements. Don't forget to check out part 1 to get all the best destinations when it comes to things like safety, budget, and cultural experiences or festivals and breathtaking viewpoints. I hope these tips will make you more confident and will help you to plan the best trip of your life. Drop me a like because that really helps me, share it with fellow travelers, and comment down below if you've got more Southeast Asian destinations that you'd like me to talk about. I'm a big Asian lover. You can see that in the video over here where I made an ultimate guide for Thailand, literally my favorite country in the whole world. So if you want to know, you can check out this video as well, where I give you all the insights on this beautiful country. So I'll see you guys in our next adventure. Bye!